And from ABSA, overcoming all obstacles. With just 166 Ks of racing left, the pecking order established, and the racing is uncompromising as ever. The first round of the 2008 ABSA Off-Road Championship in the Western Cape for the Nissan Dealer 400 title is in full swing.
And so is Duncan Foss. The Nissan team looking comfortable and on familiar territory. The red and blue brand have always loved this event, and it was showing. Krobler in second and piling on the pace. In the specials, Brandon Harkis and Richard Leake leading the way, following up on their great showing in the prologue, keeping in mind that this was their first competitive drive together.
And Krobler, a man who has raced the Datsun and Nissan brand virtually all his life, trying to close the 30-odd second gap to his stablemate Duncan Foss, who still maintained it over him. The race is on.
And the order on the road still not quite settled. One little slip and the competition whizzes past you. The 2004 champion, Marshworth Groenewald, had clocked the third fastest time for Loop 1.
But on Loop 2, the route is ground up and the dust very heavy, and no wind to blow it away either. Visser at Badenhorst fighting for a view. And so is the old firm of Woolridge and Schothammer. But trouble for Cox and Tersteege. See just how quickly the cars can go by. The Ford Dio was smashing all the time checks on the second round of the Western Cape dirt roads and shrubbery.
In fact, these two former champions on 4 and 2 wheels have over the years built a great relationship, and in a race car fit together like an experienced racing hand into an old glove.
Up from almost nowhere to fifth and climbing. Cox and Tersteege enjoying their first run out in the new car, but having to sort out some of those small things along the way, like one has to do with new transport.
But they had company. Michelin XL's Toyota Hilux 4-litre SP Challenge right behind them. And Berthold and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota were right behind them, with their teammates Cronje and Birkin having lost a few places, but still managing fine.
To the gate right. You put your headlights on.
Process Robley, did you read me? Your headlights aren't on, over. Headlights aren't on.
I just switched them on.
Thank you, Robin. They're on now. Copy, thank you. What's the problem?
I know the whole back is just collapsed. I think the shocks have snapped, over.
Not good news for Toyota, but Regents, Whitehouse and Carlson up a half a dozen places and still picking past the field with a fine come-from-behind win. With the brothers Besaidnout keeping the pressure right there in the Adenko back.
But the interminable dust was going nowhere. The famous Cape wind had taken the day off, and the fine stuff was just hanging in the air. Foss, though, wasn't hanging around. They were second fastest through all the early checkpoints.
And guess who was third quickest? Krobler, still fuming with himself about his stall. He and Moore were piling on the pace and the power.
The burly Nissan man is one determined character behind the wheel, that's for sure.
The De Brains had also picked up 6 places and were now into the top 6. A blast of a drive delighting the pit crew back at the sports field in Darling and the spectators at the low-level bridge.
With a little more than 100 Ks to go to complete the first race of the season, Regent Racing must have been all smiles too. Marsh and Groenewald had started off the day in 14th place, and here they were, 4th overall and leading the specials.
With another surprise package, Ruthven and Boshoff second after Variawa had lost 6 minutes repairing that power steering, and then another 15 with a fan belt problem.
Visser and Badenhorst in the 4th SP on the road, having a blast and still looking for more places to pick off ahead of them.
And the Ford Dio, Neil Woolridge and Kenny Schothammer stalking each car in front of them, picking up all the places they'd lost, and then some. It was low flying.
Toyota too were piling on the speed as Cronje and Birkin were trying to regain some lost time. And then Cox and Tersteege hooved it into view in the all-new Motorride SP. They were enjoying the route and its clear markings, but that was a universal feeling throughout the field.
And Rob, there's a scary sight. Shamir Variawa slightly irritated, having lost 21 minutes in one fell swoop and driving the total motorsport porter like Meatloaf's bat out of hell. Stand back. And this spot is where the production cars battled in the loose powder, but not Whitehouse and Carlson, who were just plugging away. While Johan Besaidnout in the Adenko back was also still in a fighting mood.
The whites, David and Gary, were without doubt not so white anymore with all this dust, but they were up 6 places from 18th and having a great second loop.
But the dust was ruthless. One slight mistake and you were stuck for a while. Several teams had to help each other out. The brothers Besaidnout needed a rescuer here.
And the Ruacon team, the whites, were now also doing some amateur earth moving in their quest to escape. But here's one of the stars of the day. Father and son Cully and Quinton Sulvald in the Sulvald Racing Zarko. From 10th overall into 7th and making that Chevy engine sing along with a stuck throttle as well.
And the family weren't doing badly either. Herman Sulvald and Paul Helberg had a dreadful prologue, but it jumped a massive 47 places to occupy this one. 9th overall and 4th in class.
Fontona and Guelpa, the 6th SP on the road, and themselves up from 19th place overall to 10th. That Unifreight Ford Ranger sounded like it was asking for more.
Bez Besaidnout only had 1st and 3rd gear left, but you would never have said so. He and De Bruin in sublime form and setting the pace in Class B by more than 20 minutes. Battling in the loose sand. And there were a whole lot of sob stories for the day, none more so than the whites.
Op Johan Besaidnout. Is 'n sterre gewees en toe het ons vas sit in dik sand en ons kon nie in die gang kom nie. Toe George Barkhuis en ons team uit ons getraai uittrek en blyk my het sy clutch gebrand nou. Ons is nou uitgekom en ons gaan nou maar weer in die gang kom.
And they got it going again in a big way. Weichelt and Gach too had avoided the big trouble and were nailing some big scalps on the way. With Coetzee Labuschagne and Johan Gerber up from 28th to 19th and pushing hard in Class D.
Visser and Leroux had taken the lead in Class E, but it was certainly a close-run thing.
It definitely was a close thing, Arnie, because Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts in the Barden Tyre Services Nissan Hardbody was just less than 4 minutes back. The race was on here.
And in Class B, it was the Luke Africa entry of Gil Nel and Dion de Kock who were in the lead in the B class. But they also could not relax because Alistair Stubbs and Mark de Chalane in 2nd were chasing as hard as they could to close a 14-minute gap.
The Stafford Racing team in their Viper with its 2-litre Toyota engine was up into 18th place, all the way from 33rd after the prologue. How's that for big jumping?
Indeed, they were virtually jumping rope and talking jumps. No such luxuries for Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn in the men's health race go. They were the only Class B car left on the road and were happy to just cruise home.
And in Class E, there were only 2 entries left, and they were led by Jack Beckham and Lucio Santoro in the Ford Ranger 2.5 diesel, who were protecting a big lead.
By now, more than half the field had given up the ghost, but not the Zermattens in their Roby Nissan in Class D. They just kept plugging away, and quite quickly too. And so did the Kuns in their green and black Landy in the SP class. They were 23rd overall after a terrible prologue and hoping to see the finish line.
And racing with a proud blue bull on the bonnet, Wynand van der Linde and Sirfi van Schalkwyk in their Toyota Hilux were patiently bringing it home in Class E.
Sure, Nas would be proud. Back in Darling, the Nissan celebrations were starting. Duncan Foss clocking 4 hours and 44 minutes, leading the way home.
Duncan had a massive 2007 season and seemed to seamlessly pick up where he left off. A perfect drive from the diminutive man with a big heart.
Kroble hit the ditch early on in Loop 2 and damaged a wishbone, and that did not help his cause. He and Moore were 36 seconds back.
For Foss, a fine win. And for Nissan, a 45th victory since 2001. They are dominant in the sport right now. And Foss was the same. Perfect out there.
We had a perfect weekend. It started off on a good note on Thursday when we shook the cars down and they felt really good. And I thought we were going to be in for a good weekend after Thursday. But yes, it was perfect. You know, we didn't have one little bit of drama with the car. It ran perfectly. No funny noises, nothing. Rafi was great. And Hannes made one mistake. I think he stalled his car on one of the turns and we passed him, and that's the name of the game these days. You cannot make a mistake. It's so competitive.
Marsh and Whitehouse celebrated a timely return to form to clinch the special vehicle win, just over 5 hours worth of driving for them.
With Ruthven and Boshoff second, 34 seconds in arrears. Pretty close, actually.
Great start to the season, great start. We've worked really hard, both in the workshop and ourselves, myself and Peter, really worked hard through December and January on our fitness, making sure we can keep our intensity up. Came off a bad year last year, and it's just nice to see everything paying off. It really has.
Peter, tell us more about your driver.
Terence was proper today. He was proper, very few mistakes, lived the intensity. And yeah, I know, it was nerve-wracking at times with Peter chasing us the whole time. But yeah, it was awesome feeling. I'm just glad it's over now.
Which really tells you just how hard the darting conditions really were out there. Visser at Baardnorst came home in 4th place in the SP class.
Yeah, the day was great for us. Just a pity for the 2 specials that had that accident this morning. But other than that, we had a great day. The first lap we had a small problem with the reverse, so we got stuck about 34 minutes at a place where we couldn't reverse. So one or 2 guys came there to help us, just to push the bucky backwards. So, but otherwise than that, yesterday we had a great day. Yes, nothing wrong, nothing. The bucky was excellent.
For Woolridge, it was a tough day in the office.
Yeah, it's been a good day. It's been a bit of a frustrating day, unfortunately. You know, with the accident this morning, stopping for the fire. That kind of like I lost my concentration completely. I must say the whole of the first lap I really battled to sort of get back into the groove. But once we got to the refuel and had something to drink and kind of like focused again, it was quite well. We caught up to Alfie and the other Ford quite quickly, and he very kindly let us past. And then unfortunately we got stuck behind some of the guys that passed us during the fire episode, so it was difficult because the dust was so bad. I don't know what happened to the wind from yesterday, but yeah, a bit of a frustrating day, but you know, the rules are the rules, and sportsmanship. You have to stop and help. It was the right thing to do. Everyone said, how long did you stop for? I said, I don't know, about 4 or 5 fire extinguishers. I don't know how long that is, but I'm glad. I think the guys are all right. I don't think anyone's seriously hurt, which is the main thing, but to see those 2 cars completely burnt out like that is terrible. It's a terrible sight.
But not a terrible sight for Nissan.
No, sir. Nissan shooting for an unprecedented 8th consecutive championship, and 3 of them in the top 4. Woolridge and Schulthammer, though, would have raised a few eyebrows by clocking the fastest last loop. That spells danger for the rest of the teams.
And the special class, a great return to winning form for Marsh and Groenewald.
Until next time, you keep it on the road.
And we'll keep it off-road.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship.